Hello, today I'm going to review the Ulanzi D200X creative deck and the D100H creative dial, which Ulanzi kindly sent me for free in exchange of making this video. With that said, let's start with the price. So the price for the creative deck is only $100, which I think is a really good deal because you get 14 customizable buttons in here in which you can change the icons and create custom pages and so on. You also get 2 buttons in here, 3 customizable knobs, and also this deck functions as a hub to basically extend the ports on your computer. So I think again for $100 you get a lot of value for your money. And now as for the creative dial, it's only 40 bucks and you get 2 buttons in here, 2 buttons in here, 3 buttons in here, and obviously the creative dial in here. So I think for this amount of money you get a lot of functionality from such a simple device. All right, regardless, let's start with the build quality of these devices. The D200X is made mainly of plastic. Everything in here is pretty much plastic. You have some padding in here as well, so it doesn't move around. But honestly, overall, it feels pretty solid and robust. I mean, it could have been better if it was metal, but at the same time, it's not bad for a fully plastic-made device. And then as for the creative dial, it is also made of plastic, but it does have some metal parts in it. I think the dial itself actually is metal because it feels a bit cold to the touch. So I think the dial in here is metal, but everything in here is plastic, and it does feel heavy at the same time. And that's really good actually, because when you put it on the desk, if you're going to bump into it, it's not going to move easily. So it stays in place. If you really like spin it quickly or slowly, it's not going to move around by accident. Now, in terms of like the buttons and knobs, all the buttons in here on the D200X feel really premium, nice and clicky. The buttons don't get stuck or anything like that. Here is how these buttons sound like. You also have buttons in here for the knobs. You can press the knobs. And the knobs themselves feel really tactile. And they're pretty silent. And as for the D100H, everything feels pretty much the same. The buttons are nice and clicky. They sound almost the same as on my Logitech mouse. Here the sound also the same. It's a bit loud though, I would say, compared to the buttons on the creative deck. And this is much more silent, and also these buttons are a bit quieter. But the most important thing is that it's really satisfying to press these buttons, like you get the proper feedback. And also in here you have like an on and off switch, a USB-C port to charge this because this is Bluetooth, and then you can pair it with 3 devices, and with this button you'll be able to basically switch the devices. I just turned on the dial just to let you hear how the dial sounds like when you spin it around. And in my opinion, it feels really smooth, really precise at the same time. All right, next I want to talk about the hub functionality. So here are all the ports you have in here: headphone jack, micro SD card slot, and SD card slot. This is not UHS 2, not like SD 4.0, it's SD 3.0. And then in here you have a charging pass-through port. So basically you connect this device to your computer and then it can pass through charge using this port in here. Here you have a 10 gigabits per second USB-C port, 2 USB-A 10 gigabits per second ports. Then this USB-C port is the one you're going to use to plug this device to your computer. And finally, you also have a HDMI port in here if you want to plug this into a display and whatnot. So as you can see, you have lots of functionality with this hub in here, but the only thing that I do want to mention is that, at least with my computer, when I try to plug my Samsung SSD through one of these ports, the USB-A port or the USB-C port, it was initially a little bit slow, meaning it takes like a minute or 2 for the device to warm up before you get the full speed of the SSD. So usually when I plug the SSD directly to my computer, I get the full speed right away. Whereas using these ports in here, I had to wait a little bit before I got the full speed of the SSD. So maybe the hub is a bit slow when it comes to communicating with the computer, or maybe it's my SSD because I'm using an SSD from Samsung and it uses the APFS, I believe, file system and whatnot. So maybe it's because of that, but it's just something worth mentioning, especially if you want to plug an SSD directly to this hub and basically edit your video from that SSD. Maybe initially you will get like slow speeds and only after a couple of minutes it will start becoming fast. All right, now let me show you how easy it is to customize the creative deck inside the Ulanzi software. So this is how it looks like on my Mac, but it is also available for Windows if you're using Windows. And I'm going to create a new preset and basically set it up from scratch to show exactly how easy it is to, create shortcuts or other things with the deck and also the dial. So I'm going to click this plus button in here, and then here you have a couple of options. You can either create like a preset from scratch, or you can assign the preset to a specific app. Basically, as soon as you're going to open that application, it's going to show that preset on the deck, or you can import a preset if you have one on your computer. I'm going to use the linked preset just to make it a bit easier. And I'm going to assign this to Pixelmator Pro because I don't have a preset for this application. But of course, you'll be able to search all of the applications available on your computer. I'm going to click Create. OK. And now basically, I have this Pixelmator Pro application in here. And as you can see, I have some other applications that I've assigned a couple of shortcuts to, like DaVinci Resolve, Bear, and then Photomator. And now as soon as I'm going to open Pixelmator Pro on my computer, it's basically going to show the preset that we've just created inside the Ulanzi Studio application. All right, so now let's create a couple of commands with the buttons in here. So obviously you can customize all of these buttons. You can also customize these buttons in here, the two buttons in here. And then you also have the knobs in which you can also customize them. And here on the right side, you'll have all the commands. You have multi-action commands, basically like macros. And you have pages commands to go to the next page, previous page, go to a specific page. Also you have page indicator, or you can create also a folder within a page, and you can create in here up to 10 pages per application basically. So you'll be able to have more than like 150 commands per application, if you will. But I'm going to delete this, just leave one page just to keep it simple. And then here you have some sound actions, system actions like opening and closing an application, opening a website, text commands, hotkey commands, multimedia commands, hotkey switch. And then in here you have Ulanzi Connect. I believe this is an application. If you're using Ulanzi lights, you'll be able to control your Ulanzi lights within this Stream Deck, which is pretty cool. And finally, you also have OBS. If you're using OBS, you'll be able to kind of control OBS within this Stream Deck in here. So let's start with something simple. I'm gonna take a hotkey command and you can drag it to anywhere you want, as you can see. I'm gonna put it in here. And I'm gonna name this crop, and the command is going to be C on my keyboard. And now if I'm gonna go to Pixelmator Pro and I'm gonna click command in here, as you can see, it's going to launch the crop window for me. And now maybe in here, I want to also like have the ability to open a website, maybe like youtube.com. And then maybe also I want to be able to open an application. I'm gonna select Photomator, click open. By the way, you can rename the title. It's going to change on the deck itself, or you can completely remove the title and then it's going to be like clean. So now if I'm going to go to Pixelmator Pro, as you can see, I have the crop tool. I can click in here to open YouTube. And if I go back to it, I can click in here to open Photomator. So basically you get the idea. You can customize all of these buttons in here to whatever you want. You can also click in here, choose an icon. You can create like a custom icon and set whatever icon you want. But also you can create folders within a preset basically. So I'm gonna create like a folder, put it in here. And now if I'm going to double click this, I'll be able to open a folder and automatically it will create like a back button for me. So I'll be able to go back to the main page of the preset. So let's say I'm going to go to this folder and I'm going to choose a website. And let's say I want to open AliExpress.com and maybe also another website, Amazon.com. Now I'll go back and now I'm going to go to Pixelmator. And as you can see, I have this folder button in here. can press this, and now let's say I want to open AliExpress. It's going to open AliExpress, and if I go back to Pixelmator, press the folder, Amazon, it's going to open also Amazon for me. All right, now with this button in here, you can't really assign any functions. At least I was not able to find how to assign functions to this. Like for example, if I'm going to drag the hotkey function to this button, it doesn't let me do it. So as far as I understand, this is only for displaying information like a picture, or in here they have a couple of presets like the knob function, so you can customize the knobs in here and create icons for each knob, so you'll remember what each knob is going to do. I'll show you later on exactly how it works. You have a custom background for this button. You have the CPU, RAM and GPU, time, date, time, weekday, date, time and weekday, and also dial time in here. For now, I'm going to use the knob function to show you how it works. And obviously these buttons in here, you can also customize to whatever you want. Like for example, let's say I want to do this button to have like to open the crop tool. I'm going to do C, then name is crop. And if I'm going to go back to Pixelmator, click this button, it's going to open the crop tool for me. And then obviously with these knobs in here, you'll be able to assign functions to when you want to spin the knob to the right, left, and also you can press the knob to have a function. So let's say I'm gonna create like a hotkey action with this first knob in here. I'm gonna name this, let's say for example, I'm gonna do like oval selection, which is Y, and then freeform is L. So now if I go to this first knob, and then I'm going to do rotate clockwise, it's going to be Y, counterclockwise is going to be L in here, and then if I'm going to press, let's do C. So every time I'm going to press, it's going to crop, rotate to the right, clockwise going to open the oval shape, and then L is going to open the free shape in here, right? So let's try that. I'm going to click on this. As you can see, it opens the crop tool. If I'm going to rotate clockwise, it's going to open the oval shape in here. Let me just select, for example, the color adjustments, rotate to the right. As you can see, it switches to the oval selection. I'm going to rotate to the left. It's going to switch to this free selection. But also you can do like press and rotate for another function. So let's do V for arrange and also O for clone. So I'm going to select this Pixelmator Pro, this knob in here, then V, and O. So again, if I'm going to rotate to the right, it's going to take me to the oval shape, left, freeform. But if I'm going to press and rotate to the right, it's going to take me to the arrange tool, as you can see. And if I'm going to rotate to the left while holding, it's going to take me to the clone tool. Just like so. It's a bit uncomfortable, honestly, to press and rotate at the same time. It feels not natural, if I'm honest. So personally, I would only use the, just rotating the dial clockwise and counterclockwise. And if I go back to this button in here, if you set it to the knob, it will basically show you the function each knob does. So the left knob in here, I've set it to Y. I mean, the title of it is Y, but let's name it like crop, for example. And as you can see, it basically shows crop. And I can do the same thing with the second knob. Let's name this arrange. And then maybe the third knob, I can rename this view, let's say. And now, instead of like guessing which knob does what, I can kind of look at this mini display in here and kind of know what each knob does. All right, and now let's move to the creative dial in here. And you can, switch to it by clicking in here and then switching to the Ulanzi dial. And again, you can customize all of these buttons in here to whatever you want from this menu. I have a preset here for DaVinci Resolve, and I mainly use this honestly to like scroll when I'm cleaning files. I use DaVinci Resolve sometimes for like media management, and I love using this dial in here because I can quickly move around the timeline, select, delete a clip that I don't want to use in the future, and then just keep going. It's much quicker than pressing the keyboard, for example. So let me just show you how it works. I'm gonna go to DaVinci Resolve, and usually, as you can see, like if I want to move frame by frame, I will do W and Q. I'm used to these two buttons to move frame by frame to be really accurate with my movement, right? And as you can see, like if I want to move 10 frames, it's really slow, but like pressing with my finger, I can do like shift and right to move 10 frames, but it's not too intuitive, if I'm honest, because I kind of have to take my hand off the mouse, right? And then do this shift right and so on. And also if I want to move like 5 frames or 6 frames, it's a bit slower. So I've set this dial in here so that when I spin it clockwise, it's going to move frame by frame, right? And it's very like, really like tactile. So I can make it like as slow as on the keyboard, or if I like put my finger in here and I move it quickly, I can move quickly, right? But also if I press and, you know, move it to the right, it's going to move 10 frames at the same time, at a time. Or if I move to the left, it's going to move 10 frames to the left in one time. And if I release it, it's going to do only frame by frame. And if I press this middle button, it's going to do like space for me, right? So I can play the clip, and then the left button in here is going to select the clip, and the right button ripple deletes the clip. So then I can like play. Oh, I don't want to use this clip. I can select this, delete, play, and then let's say, for example, I want to move a bit, see where I want to start the clip. Let's say from here, I'm going to do ripple delete with my mouse. I'm going to play the clip, right, and then move more, ripple delete to the right with my mouse. You get the idea. It's significantly quicker and more intuitive than using the keyboard, if I'm honest. And also in here, obviously you can create presets for a specific application, just like with the Creative Deck. Now, the only couple of negative things that I want to mention about the deck and the dial is that with the deck, sometimes when I close my MacBook, when I put it to sleep, and then I open it, the deck would not turn on automatically. So I would have to like remove the cable and then plug it back into the computer for it to turn on. And also sometimes this Ulanzi application crashes, and even if I open it again, it would not recognize the deck for me. So I'll have to again remove the cable, plug it back in, and then it works. And then the only negative thing I have to say about the dial is that accessing these buttons here on the sides is very uncomfortable for me, at least when using it with my left hand, because I prefer to have like one hand on the mouse and I'm using my right hand. And then when holding this device here with the left hand, it's a bit uncomfortable to press these buttons because it puts my hand in a very weird position. It's super intuitive to press these buttons here on top, move the dial, but pressing these buttons on the sides feels a bit like unintuitive, if you will. And another thing that I want to mention is that if you go in here, let me just switch to the deck, and you go to plugins, and then you do add, and you can basically download plugins that some developers created for specific applications. For example, I'm gonna do DaVinci Resolve, and all of them, as far as I know, are free. Here, basically, you'll have like a preset, if you will, for DaVinci Resolve with custom commands. And you have like lots of applications to choose from. For example, you have Lightroom, Photoshop, Home Assistant, Spotify, OBS, and then also you have like YouTube, Twitch, Tomato, Timer, if you want to like use, I guess, like Pomodoro timers on your deck. But I think it is not as big as the Elgato marketplace, if you will. That marketplace is significantly bigger, so you don't have as many developers like creating plugins for this software like with the Elgato software. So if you are interested, check out the affiliated links down below. Thank you, Ulanzi, for sending these devices over for a review. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.